the Coeur d'Alene country. A big find of gold or silver soon becomes known in a mining country. When the fact is well established, men of all sorts and conditions begin to pour in. Prospectors are men who have for years been seeking a fortune, generally unsuccessful, but occasionally cheered and urged on by a great strike made by some fortunate comrade. These prospectors are often grub-staked, that is, supplied with provisions and an outfit by some backer with money who, in the event of good luck, is to share equally the profits. Next, the tin-horn gambler appears in town, prospering with the prosperity of the rest, often amassing a large pile, only to lose it again by an adverse turn of the wheel. And of course there was the saloon keeper with his dance hall, assured that if the camp produces anything he will get the lion's share. Later, if the yield is large and promising, the merchants follow. Then the printing press. Last of all, the church enters the field, to be of what service it can in ministering for good to the motley and eager throng. The average lifetime of a mining camp is brief, and rarely do we find that nature has made such large deposits of the precious metal in any one region as in the famous Coeur d'Alene territory in the panhandle of Idaho. When I went to Idaho, the whole section was a dense, uninhabited forest. A few months later, a narrow-gauge railroad connecting with the boat on the Coeur d'Alene Lake pierced through the woods and reached Wardener and then Wallace. Thousands of people were at once attracted by the reports of fabulous wealth actually in sight. At the time of my first visit to the Coeur d'Alene, Wallace was my objective point, and the first engine had but recently reached the camp. Already a rude printing press had been set up, and as I stepped from the train, I was handed a large green circular which had been widely distributed and was posted up on stumps and logs and shacks in every direction. As I was escorted from the station to my hotel, I was impressed by a scene of throbbing activity. The camp was crowded with men, and the sound of saw and hammer filled the air. Conspicuous among the rude buildings and tents which made up the town, there were, by actual count, 60 saloons. It was a confused and stirring spectacle. I found, to my surprise, that 2 of my own cousins from Missouri, bright and enterprising fellows, were the owners of the local paper. Hence, I was at once made to feel at home. That Sunday afternoon I took a walk through the camp. On every side men were hard at work as on any weekday. The stores and banks, not to mention the saloons, were all open. As I passed one bank, I recognized in the cashier a gentleman whom I had met before. He invited me in and asked about my plans. I raised funding and helped build their first church. Eventually, Wardener, Mullen, and Murray all got churches too, and they made a very positive impact on those communities. It was during my first visit to Murray that a memorable service was held. A heated political campaign was in full blast. Party lines were closely drawn, and the local papers were indulging in bitter personalities. The large hall in which town events and services were held was constructed of boards with no plaster to deaden the sound. Immediately adjoining it was the saloon, and only separated by thin board partitions, full of holes from knotty lumber. You could distinctly hear the clanking of glasses and bottles, and also conversations. During the time of service, therefore, the kind-hearted saloon keeper was good enough to close shop, and even to invite his customers to attend church and hear the bishop talk. They came, and naturally enough, many of the fellows fresh from their drinks were hardly able to realize just where they were. Where canvas tents had dotted the landscape, the rush for riches brought frontiersmen. who met amidst saloons where laughter mingled with the clink of glasses and the pickaxes that bit into the earth. There a community emerged from the untamed wilderness,